The air was still, the heat of the savannah pressing down like a heavy blanket, when something extraordinary unfolded. It wasn't the roar of a predator or the stampede of frightened prey. It was silence. Silence broken only by the slow, uneven steps of a lion that was no longer king, but a wounded shadow of himself. His golden mane was matted, patches of fur darkened by blood. Each step left a faint mark on the dust, as if the earth itself was recording the trail of his suffering. And then, against every instinct we know lions to have, this creature didn't vanish into the tall grass to lick his wounds in secret. He walked toward humans, not stalking, not threatening. Approaching the people who witnessed it would never forget. The way his amber eyes locked onto theirs. It's not with rage, but with something unexpected. Something human, desperation. This lion had come not to fight, but to ask for help. And just when it seemed like the miracle of trust between predator and man was the story, the household cat entered the scene. What happened next was so chilling that those who watched it could barely breathe. The story begins on the outskirts of a wildlife rehabilitation center in southern Africa. The center was home to injured animals, mostly antelopes, birds, and the occasional orphan monkey. The staff were used to rescues, good, but they were not prepared for what came limping through their gate that afternoon. A fully grown male lion, ribs visible beneath his skin, dragging one paw behind him, appeared at the edge of the compound. There was a moment of disbelief. Cameras were pulled out, staff members froze, and the lion kept coming. Predators rarely reveal weakness. In the wild, injury means vulnerability, and vulnerability invites attack. Yet here he was, head lowered, mane shifting with the breeze, choosing exposure over concealment. He lay down, finally, just meters from the gate. His breath was ragged, chest heaving, eyes glazed with exhaustion. A pause for a moment. Think about what was happening inside the minds of those watching. A lion is not a pet, is not a dog limping home. He is raw, power Ivan, half broken. Instinct screams, asterisk, stay back, don't open the gate, don't take the risk. But instinct can be deceiving. And in that moment, one of the caretakers made a choice that could have changed everything. The man approached slowly, syringe hidden in his pocket, tranquilizer ready. The lion lifted his head, ears twitching, eyes narrowing. And then, instead of growling, instead of baring teeth, he simply blinked. That single blink gave permission. Within minutes, the great beast was sedated, his massive frame carried inside. Vets worked quickly, a deep gash along his flank, likely from a fight with another lion, and a swollen paw infected from stepping on a hunter's discarded trap. It would take weeks of care. But here's the twist. At the rehabilitation center lived another animal, one that had nothing to do with the wild. A small domestic cat, black with a patch of white on its chest, belonged to one of the staff members. It wandered freely, often weaving between the cages, rubbing its face on everything it could reach, as cats do. Nobody thought about the cat when they brought in the lion. Nobody imagined the two would ever cross paths. Till one evening, as the lion lay recovering in his enclosure, the cat slipped in through the bars. Picture it, creature weighing barely 8 pounds, walking straight toward a predator that could crush it with a single paw. Staff members rushed, horrified, whispering, "Get it out. Get it out before it's too late." The cat, of course, didn't care about rules or risks. It padded forward, tail upright, fearless in its arrogance. It approached the lion's injured side and sat down just inches away. The lion stirred, his head turned, and for a split second, everyone thought this was the end of the cat. Instead, something stranger happened. The lion lowered his head, nostrils flaring, breathing in the small animal's scent. The cat stared back, unblinking. Tension gripped the air. And then in one slow movement, the lion extended his paw. He didn't strike. He rested it gently on the ground beside the cat. But here's where the terrifying part unfolded. It nodded. Claws or blood, but in silence. The cat leaned forward, brushing its head against the lion's massive paw. Staff gasped. Hearts raced. The image was almost too surreal. Predator and pet, danger and innocence, side by side as if they had known each other forever. Why was it terrifying? Because every instinct said the opposite should have happened. This was a razor-thin line between peace and tragedy. A single flicker of pain, a single twitch of instinct from the lion, and the cat would be gone. The margin was so thin it chilled everyone to the bone, yet the cat returned, again and again. Each day it visited the lion's enclosure, brushing against him, lying down near his wounds, purring as though offering comfort. The lion accepted it. More than that, he seemed to rely on it. His recovery was faster than expected. He ate more, he moved sooner. And every time he shifted, the little black cat followed like a shadow. It was as if the lion had not just come to humans for help, but found companionship in the least likely creature imaginable. This story forces us to ask questions about psychology, not just animal psychology, but ours. Why do moments like this shake us so deeply? Because they shatter assumptions. We expect predators to kill. We expect cats to avoid danger. When those roles dissolve, our brain loops into a cycle of suspense. Asterisk. What will happen next? Is this real? Is it safe? That loop keeps us hooked, just as it kept the staff glued to the scene day after day. But deeper than suspense is something else. Recognition. We see ourselves. The lion is the part of us that suffers silently, that wants to appear strong while carrying invisible wounds. The cat is the reminder that sometimes comfort arrives in the smallest, most unexpected form. Weeks passed. The lion's wounds healed. His mane regained its luster. He began walking with strength again, yet even as his power returned, the bond with the cat didn't fade. Terrifying, yes, because the potential for tragedy never vanished. But also profound, because in that bond lay a lesson we often forget. Strength is not always in dominance. Sometimes strength is in allowing gentleness close to your scars. And here's where this story gives us something beyond drama. It shows us the psychology of healing. Trauma isolates. Pain convinces us to withdraw. Whether human or lion, the instinct is the same. Hide weakness, show only strength. But real recovery begins the moment we allow connection back in, no matter how unlikely, no matter how terrifying the risk feels. The day came when the lion was released. The gates opened. He stepped back into the wild, mane catching the sunlight, steps firm and steady. Staff members watched with tears in their eyes, whispering prayers for his survival. The cat sat on the fence watching too. And though the lion didn't look back, those who had witnessed their bond knew something. Extraordinary had passed between them, something unforgettable. So, what can we take from this? First, never underestimate the role of trust. The lion trusted humans with his life, and a cat with his pain. The trust accelerated his healing more than medicine alone ever could. Second, true terror isn't always in violence. Sometimes it's in vulnerability, when the strongest among us reveal fragility, when the most dangerous lower their defenses. That moment forces us to hold our breath, uncertain of what will come next. Third, inspiration hides in unexpected places. Who would imagine that a small domestic cat could comfort a lion? It had happened. And in that, we find a message for ourselves. Never think your presence doesn't matter. Even the smallest gesture can change the course of another's survival. Now, close your eyes and ask yourself, what wound are you carrying? What part of you limps, like that lion dragging his paw? And who is the cat in your life, the small, unexpected source of comfort you might be overlooking? Because if there's one thing this story proves, it's that healing doesn't always come from where we expect. Sometimes it arrives quietly, fearlessly, and sits beside us until we find strength again. The injured lion came to a human for help. That was miracle enough. But what followed with the cat, the terrifying risk, the fragile bond, the silent comfort was a greater miracle still. For those who witnessed it, the memory would remain forever. The day when power met gentleness, the wild reminded us that healing often begins in the most unexpected embrace.